The cold October wind furiously rattled the windows of the small apartment, as if trying to reach Alex's heart. He sat at the table, buried under medical bills for his mother's treatment, feeling hope slip through his fingers. In the next room lay his mother, Nina. Her face was pale, almost translucent, and the once thick hair had turned brittle and thin. Cancer was draining her strength day by day, and with it, their family budget was slowly disappearing. "Another one," Alex whispered, staring at the latest bill. The amount was astronomical, $3,000. His salary as a legal intern barely covered half the utility bills. At that moment, his younger sister Annie burst into the room, her eyes glowing with excitement. She was 14 and dreamed of becoming a veterinarian. Every day she came home with stories of stray animals she longed to save. "Alex, look, I drew Yara, the dog from the courtyard," she said, handing him her sketchbook. On the page was a drawing of a scruffy mutt with kind eyes. Alex smiled, trying to hide the storm of worry brewing inside him. "It's beautiful, Annie. You really are talented." But inside, everything was boiling. He knew her dream of going to veterinary college hung by a thread. Their financial situation was becoming catastrophic. Every day, Alex sent out dozens of resumes, desperately trying to find a side job. His internship paid mere pennies. The debt was growing like a snowball, and their chances melting fast. Late at night, once Annie had fallen asleep and his mother quietly moaned in pain, Alex allowed himself a moment of weakness. He stared out the window at the darkening city where, somewhere, people lived a different kind of life, a life without the constant fight to survive. "What should I do?" he whispered, clenching his fists. His dream of becoming a lawyer seemed so distant and unreachable. But one thing he knew for sure: he wouldn't give up. Not for himself, but for his mother, for his sister, for their dreams. The office day dragged on endlessly. Alex shuffled papers absent-mindedly, glancing at his phone every few minutes. Then, suddenly, Maria, his colleague, appeared and dropped an envelope on his desk. "A social gala at the Grand Palace Hotel. An invitation. You should go. People make useful connections there." Alex eyed the glossy card with gold embossing skeptically. Elegant font, luxury design. It wasn't his world. In recent months, his life had been nothing but hospitals, work, and pharmacies. But that evening, standing in front of the mirror in his one and only suit, Annie helped button his collar, giggling with delight. "You look like a real businessman." The Grand Palace Hotel stunned him from the moment he walked in. Crystal chandeliers, marble columns, men in sharp suits, women in evening gowns. Alex felt like an intruder. He stood near a window, trying not to show his discomfort, when a voice beside him said, "You look like someone who just stepped into another world." He turned. Standing before him was a woman in her mid-40s, elegant, sharp-eyed, and composed. She wore a sleek black dress that accentuated her posture and inner strength. "Alex," he said briefly, shaking her firm, confident hand. "I noticed you from across the room," she replied. "You don't look like the rest of the guests." She smiled. And suddenly, Alex had a strange feeling, like he had just met someone important, someone who might change his life forever. The conversation began cautiously, but as time passed, Alex's sincerity and openness gradually came to the surface. He told Valentina about his mother, his sister, his dreams, and the daily battle to survive. Valentina listened closely. From time to time, she nodded, as if recognizing something deeply familiar in his words. In her gaze, Alex saw not only interest, but something personal, something hidden. "I see a potential in you that you might not even recognize yet," she said at the end of their meeting. Her words echoed in Alex's soul. For the first time in what felt like ages, someone spoke to him not as a struggling young man, but as a person, a real person. Before leaving, Valentina handed him her business card. "I believe we should continue this conversation." That night, as Alex walked home, a strange feeling grew inside him. His intuition whispered, something big was coming, something life-changing, far beyond what he could imagine. The next day, a phone call caught him off guard. A number he didn't recognize appeared on the screen. "Alex," Valentina's firm voice said, "I'd like to meet. Today, 6 o'clock, Golden Anchor Cafe, Riverside." It wasn't a request. It was more of an order. At the appointed time, Alex was already seated by the panoramic window. He was nervous. At exactly 6 o'clock, Valentina entered the cafe. She wore a deep navy blue suit that emphasized her confidence and inner strength. "I've thought a lot about your situation, Alex," she began without any small talk. "And I have an offer that could change your life completely." Alex tensed. Her gaze was serious and slightly sorrowful. "I'm offering you marriage," she said, "a contractual one." She paused briefly, then continued. "The terms are very clear. Your family will receive full financial support, your mother's treatment, your sister's education, a central apartment, medical insurance. In return, an official marriage, and your support in certain aspects of my life." Alex froze. It sounded unreal. On one hand, this was the solution to everything. His mom could finally get proper care. Annie would go to school. Their debt would disappear. On the other, his personal beliefs were screaming in protest. "Why me?" he asked quietly. Valentina gave a faint smile. "Because you're real. Genuine. There's an honesty in your eyes I haven't seen in a long time. I'm not looking for a pretty facade. I'm looking for a person." She placed a folder on the table. "A 3-year contract. Everything is transparent." Alex felt a storm inside. He looked at the old photograph of his mom and sister in his wallet, the one he always carried. He knew there was no real alternative. "I agree," Alex said, his voice slightly trembling. "Then sign it," Valentina said calmly, offering him a pen. And in that moment, Alex knew his life would never be the same again. The wedding was quiet and swift. It all felt official, almost routine. A few days passed. A quiet morning settled over Valentina's spacious apartment, bringing with it the feeling of a new beginning. Alex stood by the window, gazing at the city. It was still the same, and yet it looked completely different. The contract had changed everything. His family's financial situation, his sister's future, and Alex himself, his perspective on life, on morality, on the cost of certain choices. He understood now. The path he had chosen had no turning back, but somewhere deep inside him, for the first time in a long while, hope flickered. The hope that this unexpected union might bring not just salvation, but something real. While Valentina was conducting business negotiations in the next room, Alex stood by the window, deep in thought. He recalled the past few weeks, a whirlwind of changes that, just yesterday, had seemed utterly impossible. The crushing debts that had bound his family disappeared with a single stroke of a pen. His mother, Nina, was now receiving treatment in one of the best clinics in the city, and Annie, his younger sister, had started studying at a prestigious school. A dream that once felt unreachable, even in thought, had suddenly become reality. He stared out at the street, still struggling to believe it was all real. The contract with Valentina turned out to be more than just a financial agreement. It was something far deeper, a complex weave of mutual interests, hidden motives, and personal drama. Valentina entered the room, elegant and composed, as always. Her gaze rested on Alex. "You need to adapt," she said without a hint of a smile. "Social events, business meetings, welcome to your new reality." Alex nodded. He felt like a stranger in this polished world. Designer suits, luxury watches, endless conversations about money and influence. It all seemed so far removed from his old life. "I understand," he replied quietly. "But I don't want to lose myself." For the first time in a while, Valentina allowed herself a faint smile. There was something almost respectful in her eyes. Then the phone rang. It was Nina's doctor. The news was encouraging. Her test results showed improvement. Alex clenched his fists, trying to contain his emotions, but instead of pure relief, a strange anxiety grew inside him. Valentina's behavior had become more and more enigmatic in recent days. Vague hints, half-sentences, glances filled with meaning he couldn't decipher. Later that evening, he called Maria, the only person he truly trusted. "It all feels like a dream," he admitted, "but something doesn't feel right." Maria was silent for a long moment before saying softly, "Be careful, Alex. Not everything is what it seems." Her words echoed in his mind as he stared out at the city lights. There was no turning back. He stood on the edge of something irreversible. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight crept through the curtains of Valentina's spacious apartment, Alex opened an envelope sealed with her personal crest. His hands trembled. The letter was thoughtful, restrained, just like her. "Dear Alex, the time has come to tell you the truth," Valentina wrote with stark honesty. She was suffering from a rare genetic illness. It was progressing rapidly, and doctors had given her less than a year to live. But there was no self-pity or despair in her words. "I wasn't looking for sympathy," she wrote. "I was looking for a successor, not just someone to inherit my fortune, but someone who could carry on my mission, to help those who fight. And don't give up." A chill ran down Alex's spine. It turned out Valentina had seen something in him from the very beginning. Not just a struggling young man, but potential. Strength he hadn't even realized he had. Attached to the letter was a detailed guide on how to manage the charitable foundation. Every project, every outreach initiative was described with precision and heart. And Alex understood. This wasn't just a chance. It was trust. It was responsibility. And maybe it was his true calling. She hadn't just left him a foundation. Valentina had passed on an entire philosophy of compassion and support. "My foundation is not just about charity," she wrote. "It's a system designed to change lives. Every dollar must be invested in developing human potential." In her letter, she spoke openly about her childhood, how, at her lowest point, a stranger once reached out and helped her. That moment changed the course of her life and became the spark for everything she would later build. "I see myself in you," Valentina confessed. "Your strength of spirit, your ability to love and sacrifice for those you care about. That is the key to continuing my mission." Alongside the legal documents, Valentina had left Alex detailed notes on projects, contacts, and plans for years to come. Every page pulsed with her energy, her belief that what she was leaving behind was more than just assets. It was meaning. At the end of the letter were a few personal instructions. Don't fear change. Be honest with yourself. And remember, true strength lies in the power to change someone else's fate. It wasn't just a letter. It was a passing of the torch, a relay of hope. Alex was overwhelmed by a rush of emotion, awe at Valentina's courage, gratitude for her trust, and a deep sense of responsibility. He accepted the challenge. He made a promise to himself. He wouldn't let her down. Now he sat in the spacious office of the foundation, surrounded by files and documents Valentina had left behind. Every piece of paper felt like a fragment of someone's life. The first few weeks after Valentina was hospitalized were tough. The financial reports were like mazes, the ongoing projects, a web of obligations. Helping him was Natalia, Valentina's longtime assistant. "Alex, look here," she said, pointing at a grant spreadsheet. "Every number on this chart is someone's life, someone's hope." He learned quickly. He remembered Valentina's words. Management isn't just about reports. It's about understanding people, their pain, and their dreams. One of the first projects he dove into was a scholarship program for children from low-income families who dreamed of becoming doctors. Every story reminded him of his sister Annie and her dream of becoming a veterinarian. There were challenges. Some of the foundation's partners viewed Alex with skepticism. To them, he was just the newcomer sitting in the seat of a great woman. But he didn't give up. He began with a full audit. Some programs needed refinement, others had to be relaunched from scratch. He brought in young specialists, created task forces, and led dozens of meetings. One evening, while digging through the archives, he came across a project supporting children with cancer. Photos of smiling boys and girls, stories of recovery, letters of thanks. His breath caught in his chest. It all reminded him of his mother, her fight, her pain, and her hope. He realized every paid course of treatment wasn't just an expense. It was a chance, a rescue, a life. The foundation wasn't just an organization. It was Valentina's heart, beating in every initiative she ever launched. Alex began staying late at the office more and more. He would read through her journals, not just notes, but roadmaps of the lives she had tried to change. Every word, every sentence echoed in his mind. Help not out of pity, but out of respect for someone else's strength to survive. And once again, he reminded himself, I won't let her down. Alex felt that he was becoming part of something much greater than just a charitable foundation. It was a movement, a philosophy, a way to truly change the world. The autumn city was sinking into a soft morning haze. In the foundation's office, Alex sorted through the papers Valentina had left behind. Each page carried the imprint of her soul. It was her final touch on a world she hadn't managed to fully change, but into which she had poured everything she had. That morning the news came. Valentina had passed away. In a clinic, surrounded by doctor's care, but almost alone. Alex felt a strange mix of grief and responsibility. She hadn't chosen him by chance, not just as a successor, but as someone to carry on her legacy. He remembered their last conversation in her hospital room. Her eyes, though her body had grown weak, still shone with that same unwavering strength. "Alex," she had said, "the foundation isn't just an organization. It's a living heart, filled with hope. It's made of human stories, and now, it's in your hands." Since that moment, Alex understood. Behind every number, every report, was a real life. Every project in the foundation wasn't just charity. It was a second chance, a new breath of life. One day, a young woman came to the foundation. Valentina had once saved her life. "She paid for my cancer treatment," she said. "Thanks to her, I'm alive. And I'm happy to see that her mission continues." Her words became a point of no return for Alex. He knew this wasn't an ending. It was the start of a new chapter. In Valentina's memory, he established an annual award in her name. For those who don't just talk about change, but actually change lives. In the evenings, he continued studying her archives. In her notes, letters, and photos, he discovered small miracles, people she had helped, stories where hope had triumphed over fear. He often stayed late in the office, staring at her photo on the wall, a serious expression, neatly styled hair, but in her eyes, warmth and faith. "Your mission lives on," Alex would whisper. Valentina's death wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Her legacy lived on, through him, through Alex's hands and heart, the one now responsible for hundreds of lives, for those Valentina had once given a chance. The morning sun streamed through the tall windows of the office. Alex leaned over a new stack of documents. Each story, each project was no longer just paper, but living proof of change. A folder full of thank you letters lay on the desk. He picked one up and read, "Thanks to your support, I became the first university graduate in my family. You helped me change my life." Elena Natalie, one of the staff members, peeked into the office with a cup of coffee. "Another letter of inspiration?" she asked with a smile. Alex nodded. "Every letter is a little miracle." The team began gathering in the main hall. Ahead of them was the discussion of a new educational program for children from underprivileged families. Life was moving forward, and it was changing. Alex could feel his team growing, how each employee was becoming part of a larger, shared mission. "Today, we're launching a scholarship program for gifted students," he began the morning meeting. "Each of them holds potential we can help unlock." He shared the story of his sister Annie, how she once dreamed of becoming a veterinarian, drawing stray dogs on scraps of paper. And now, she was in her second year of college, her eyes glowing as she spoke of her future. A dream had come alive. That evening, Alex called his mother. Her treatment was going well. Her voice sounded stronger. "I'm proud of you, son," Nina said, and Alex had to fight back the tears. He began organizing charity events where people could not only donate, but also share their stories. Alex believed in the power of personal example, that anyone could be someone's hope. Late at night, looking out over the city lights, he thought about the future, about how Valentina's dream was becoming real, each life saved, her legacy. "We're building the future together," he whispered to the stars twinkling outside his window. "We're building the future together," he whispered to the stars twinkling outside his window, and somehow it felt like they agreed. December. Frost. In the Foundation's grand hall, a special atmosphere reigned, one of hope and transformation. Alex stood by the window watching the guests. Each one was living proof that change was possible. So much had changed in the past year. What once seemed like a utopia, the Foundation, had become a machine for real miracles. Natalie walked up to him with a folder. "Alex, look. The latest scholarship report. Remember how it all started?" He smiled. That program had been born from personal experience, from memories of Annie, a girl who once dreamed in silence, but dared, and succeeded. Now she was a second-year student, thanking her brother every day for the chance. And their mother, Nina, after completing treatment, smiled again, watching her children succeed with pride. Guests began arriving for the Foundation's annual conference. Young entrepreneurs, students, volunteers, people who believed in change. "Good evening," Alex said as he stepped up to the microphone. "Tonight, we're here to share stories of hope." He spoke of Marina, a student who, thanks to a scholarship, got into medical school. Of the Petrov family, parents of 5, who now had a new home. Of Igor, a programmer who opened a school for children with special needs. Each story was a small miracle, proof that just a little support could change an entire life. After his speech, an elderly woman with 3 grandchildren came up to him. "Thank you," she whispered. "Valentina saved our family, and now you're carrying on her work." Later that night, when the hall had emptied, Alex sat alone. He opened a drawer and pulled out Valentina's old letter. He read it again. "Remember, Alex, true wealth is the power to change someone's life." Outside, the stars lit up the sky. Their light felt as warm as her words. Thanks to faith, perseverance, and love for people, Valentina's mission lived on. Alex smiled. Now it wasn't just her dream, it was their shared reality. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support is what inspires new stories. May your life be filled with warmth, wisdom, and light, even in the hardest days. Wishing you strength, health, and courage to keep moving forward, no matter what.